Cyril is a library associate in our special collections department upstairs. He runs the American Italian Research Library. And he is going to give us a history lecture about the Jefferson Parish Library system and the development of Jefferson Parish in the 20th century. So please welcome Dr. Cyril Lagvanec.
Thank you, Nicholas. Most kind of you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out. This is quite the occasion, and it's interesting. 75 years, and I could only claim to be part of that for 2 of them. So sort of kind of right there on the surface there. But so happy to be here and for this opportunity, and I'm very thankful to see you all here to be with me. All right, so the Jefferson Parish Library system. It's 75 years, 1949. It's a fairly new creation, if you will, in the grand scheme of things. And Jefferson Parish, for a long, long time, was just an outlier to the hustling and bustling Orleans Parish. As a matter of fact, Metairie is a corruption of the French word for sharecropper. So you can kind of get an idea of what our fate and what our lot in life was as Jefferson Parish on the borders with Orleans Parish. And so, and here's a picture of Metairie Road in circa the mid to late 1930s, which is kind of interesting. So this is kind of the heart of Metairie, if you will, at this point in time. And then you have here, I like this one too, this is St. Catherine of Siena on the Bar Road. So, and I mean, that's...
What year was that?
I don't know, but it's pretty darn rustic, I will tell you that. So, it's not the modern one, that's for sure. But this was the parish, and this was the parish of St. Catherine of Siena, and this is how they were operating. So, but what happens is the things start to change in the aftermath of the Second World War as we go into the what's being referred to as the postmodern period, if you will. Yes, and according to the 1940 census, Jefferson Parish stood at 50,000 people, but by 1950, it's 104,000 people, so we doubled. Then in 1960, it was 209,000 people, so we doubled. In 1970, 338,000, and in 1980, 455,000. And we've kind of stabilized around there. We're still shy of 500,000 even to this day, but still, to go from 50,000, that's a 9-fold increase in 40 years, so that's pretty noteworthy to say the least. So this is the environment in which we're going to find ourselves calling for a library system, and a library system that we will indeed create. So what happens here is, as we come back from World War II and we start getting back into civilian life, what starts to happen is that Jefferson Parish seems to offer a lot of possibilities. Land is inexpensive. It's a lot less expensive to build here, or the process what they refer to as a land assembly, where you get smaller plots and put them together to create a bigger plot. This, of course, is also now we're into the phenomenon of the Levittown, where the subdivisions with the yards and the trees, although not too many trees yet happening here, but this is what's happening now. Life expectancy is going up, family size is going up, quality of life, availability and variables of goods and services. Thanks to the GI Bill, veterans can even get their first time mortgages at extraordinarily low interest rates. It wasn't just government housing or government-funded education. The veterans were even offered low-interest mortgages, which made a lot of this also possible. So, for example, this right here, this is Harlem Avenue, which is currently today around 1,300 block of Causeway, where Causeway and West Napoleon meet. And this is one of the first little outliers, an example of one of these communities that are becoming part of the landscape at this time. And then you have here the Westgate Homes. Look at this one. This is down by the That's veterans in there, that's David Drive, we're running along the bottom there. And as you can see, it lists 743 homes with another 111 to come. And behind there you can see Moisant, see that big X in the top there? That is Moisant Airfield or Airport, yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Now, we don't have veterans yet, as all these events are happening. We do have, though, we have Airline Highway to sort of move people from to and fro. I didn't live here in time for the Crescent Drive-In, but if you notice to the low-line building in the left-hand corner there, it's a McKenzie's. I was here for McKenzie's. So, yeah, so Airline Highway, and of course the other one was Jefferson Highway, which I didn't realize reaches all the way to Winnipeg, Canada. That's quite the stretch, you know, and so Winnipeg and us, that's kind of interesting. But this was how, you know, these were our main thoroughfares as the place grew up, and these were where you're going to see the subdivisions show up, because you want to have access to, you know, come and go from your home. Which also leads then to, they start funding Veterans Memorial Highway. All right, that becomes Veterans. Started out on Highway, it morphed over into Boulevard. But it was really amazing. This was started in the mid-50s, and this is work on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, or Veterans Highway. And so is this. This is a 54, 55. And then in November of 56, Councilman Vic Spiro came on over to the 17th Street Canal, and we had a big dedication ceremony to open this up. $3.7 million. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I know, things cost us back then. Yeah, but it's still pretty amazing that they did all this for $3.7 million. And so now we have Veterans Highway on top of everything else. So it really sort of, the place is really percolating, and it is really doing good service for the people who are living here. There are quite a few, and the numbers are growing. I thought this was kind of interesting too. This is Veterans Highway in 1962, and the top billboard on the left is actually from Mossy. I'm not sure what automotives they were selling, but it was Mossy there. And so, but it was Buick or Oldsmobile or whatever. And then to really expand on things, Jefferson Parish got hooked up to the North Shore in '56 with the world's longest bridge. And I know that the Chinese communists are like, oh, they're liars and their bridge is cheap. We still have the longest bridge in the world. The Causeway. And then here we are, the Causeway at Vets, a very long time ago. But you see what it is we are, a parish on the grow. And this is all going to turn out to be a very good investment in the long term. This is interesting. That picture is 56. This is 57. And what happens here is these people coming off the Causeway, and you can turn left to go to New Orleans, you can turn right to go to Kenner. And so, but look what's already happened. You do that at 56, and by 57, there's already, a noticeable presence and notable use by everybody. And then, of course, also the parish benefited greatly from, in 1958, the Greater New Orleans Bridge. How about that? And I didn't put any pictures in of the Huey P. Narrow because that went back to 1939, and that's when we were still just pastures. So I'm going to kind of emphasize the parish really growing and really calling for, let's have a public library system. Here's Moisant growing by leaps and bounds. It's really amazing. As far back as like 1958, we were servicing 190 flights a day, 95 in and 95 out. That's pretty remarkable. 11 airlines and a freight line. And this is, 1958. So obviously, there's a lot of activity going on. Auctioner in 59. Yeah, again, parish on the Grove. And then in April of 60, Lakeside. Yes. Okay, now that's kind of a cheat there with D.H. Holmes. Does anybody remember the other two anchor stores?
No. Pennies?
J.C. Penney's and
No.
who said it?
God
shows. Yes. God shows J.C. Penney and D.H. Holmes. Yeah. And it's so amazing. I mean, I was at Pacino's this morning having coffee, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at my notes, and I'm like, there it is. But the cool thing is, and some of you, I see this was before my time. I moved here in '77. It had started out as an outdoor mall. I didn't know that. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Especially with all our beautifully clear skies every day. Yeah. So, look, I remember in 1990, and I was looking at 105 inches of rain in 1 year. We're pushing it. And then, so you have a couple pictures of Lakeside as a outdoor mall. It's really fascinating. Again, growth. The dedication of Archbishop Chappelle in 1962. Yeah, the Gometary. And then you have Mellock Field, And it's interesting because the Recreation Department actually plays a noticeable role in the history of the library system, more than that later. And then, of course, we all know this one. And we are still, this is 1963, 61 years later, we are still progressive. So into all of this is going to come this crying need for, we really should have a library system for a parish that is just so much on the move and so much happening here. And that is absolutely right. We really merited such a situation, such a consideration. The difficulty for Jefferson Parish, and actually for the state as a whole, was that in many circles and many mindsets, it was sort of an ill-afforded luxury or a frippery, who cares, or we'll get to that later. Up to this point in time, the schools, public and parochial schools, had school libraries, but that was pretty much it. And just even across the state, there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for the project. In 1942, Governor Jones, who was known as our civics book governor, was going to veto a library appropriations bill until somebody pointed out that we had the lowest literacy rate in the union. And so, good for him, he changed his mind. But then 2 years later, the Governor Jimmy Davis did veto a library appropriations bill. So I guess he wanted his sunshine. But however it may be, it's going to change in 1949. Jefferson Parish is going to get the funding to jumpstart a public library system. And they are really going to. And when I say jumpstart, I was stunned when I read about this. This was really amazing. And speaking of amazing, we have our first director. And this is Bertha, and we'll get her maiden name correctly here. This is, where is it? Dubinsky, Bertha Dubinsky Helen. She came in and took over and got everything up and running very well in her tenure from 1949 to 1952. She was extraordinarily well educated, and she came in with a great deal of experience, and she did a lot to get the library system up and running. And she was also, not only was she very competent in terms of administration and bureaucracy and everything, she also understood the advantages of schmoozing. When she wanted something from the board that was overseeing the library, she would cook the board members gourmet dinners. And her requests were almost always met. So it was a very, very wise woman, to say the least. But yes, because what they're going to do is they are going to, in the space of just 3 months, open like 10 libraries. Yeah, I know, I was just stunned. But what they had was what they were called demonstration libraries. And so the thing was, what they're going to do is they're going to show that this is a viable prospect, and that they'll go to locales and show that yes, we have the traffic. We have the need, the call. We're meeting we're bringing this great service to the public and so on, demonstrate their value and necessity. And so they're called demonstration libraries. So what happens is there's not dedicated buildings. These libraries will go into rental spots like storefronts. Like there'll be the Mackenzie's, and next door in the strip mall will be the library kind of thing. They will go where the possibilities will present themselves. And they pay rent for their troubles, and then they serve the public and see how that all goes. Also, they were generally short hours because they didn't have tons of staff. Weekdays, they were usually open 4 hours, Saturdays 2 hours, Sundays they were closed. But again, they would go in and show the people who would be in charge of the next year's funding and the possibilities of thereafter, would show them what could be done. And under Mrs. Helms' observation and running, she got these up and going. And so we're doing this here in November because 30th of November, 1949, the first branch opened in Gretna. And it was also going to be the headquarters, so this would have been her office space in Gretna. And Gretna made sense. Gretna had a population time of over 17,000 people, so let's do it here. I don't know, every time I go to the West Bank I get lost, so I'll just tell you the address and maybe you can figure it out in your head. 335 Huey P. Long Avenue at 4th Street. You know where that is. I think you're better than that than I know it in. But that's where it was. And it was interesting, they shared a building with Carlos Marcello. and it's where his lackeys counted all the money out of the slot machines. And so the librarians talked about how they would walk past these tables covered with coins to go to and from to do their job. But that's where the first one happened. That's the 30th of November. So, but listen to this. December 1st, Metairie Road opened. The next day, they had 2 ready. No, wait. December 5th, the Harahan branch opened. December 6th, the Marrero branch opened. December 7th, the Jefferson, which later becomes the Rosedale branch, opened. December 11th, the Kenner branch on Airline Highway opened. December 11th also, the Webster Carver Library in Kenner opened, which of course, remember this is 1949, Jim Crow is in play, so you have the whites-only library system and the colors-only library system. And the Webster Carver Library was for the black patrons here on the east bank of the river. December 12th, Westwego. All of those in 13 days, 30th of November to December 12th, all those were open as demonstration libraries. And then January 29th, 1950, Grand Isle, and then February 12th, 1950, the Walker Town Library on the West Bank in Marrero, which again was also for the black patrons. And then, at the same time, in early 1950, they also jump-started, and not that they had to dead batteries, that's kind of weird. They actually got started, let's say, the bookmobiles. And they're going to come out of the gate with 3 bookmobiles. One for the East Bank, one for the West Bank, and one for the 2 black branches. So even the bookmobiles are segregated, but again, it's Louisiana, it's 1950. In case you don't remember, we voted Dixiecrat in 48. So, all right, so the bookmobiles. And more about the bookmobile. Look at that one. Yeah, that puts the Oscar Mayer hot dog car in shade. Oh yeah, we got a whole loaf of bread. And then unfortunately one of the bookmobiles went bad and started hanging out at the docks. But yeah, we went wherever they needed to go. Right out of the gate, 10 demonstration libraries and 3 bookmobiles. So that obviously the funding was there, the leadership was there, the direction, the vision, and so very strong initial start. So, kudos to all those involved, especially Mrs. Helen. The bookmobiles will stay with us, it will expand all the way to 5 machines, and it will go all the way to 1986 when they were phased out. Today we have a pair of outreach vans, and we go to places like retirement communities, daycare centers, and for those who are kind of basically shut-ins or they can't really get out of the house, you can make arrangements for the van to come by and pay you a visit. So we still have it in a different format, but we have this van outreach now, so it's kind of neat. So about these demonstration libraries, well, one of my personal favorites. This is Grand Isle, and yeah, this is Grand Isle. This is one from 1950. And look at this; you can get a better picture because this is people. So it would actually fit in this room. Actually, we might be able to fit two of them if we really, struggled at it. This we paid. I guess I don't know, the property owner or whatever. The library system paid rent $30 a month to use this facility, and it stayed in place until Betsy in 1965 when it was turned into pulp, including all the contents, unfortunately. But rebuilt in 1970. I don't know if it's the exact same. I think it's the same building, but they rebuilt a modern library in 1970 down in Grand Isle. And here's Mary Branch, pretty remarkable. And here is the interior of the Harahan Branch, and this is you can tell this is far away. It actually points out the libraries that were colored. Although the one where it says Harlem, that's 1959, so this is sort of like right towards the end of the 50s, early 60s. Here's the original branch for Jefferson in the American Legion Hall. Again, with these demonstration libraries, we went where the opportunity presented itself and got, just get the wheels turning, get the community involved, get the community's appreciation and commitment and thanks, and that should do a lot. And also it's a neat picture, very, very keen on the kids and bringing families in and just making sure that everybody has an opportunity to read and to enjoy a good book. And it is so, today with everything, I'm doing it right here, everything's so digitized. It's just so amazing to think of, books on the shelf. Pretty wonderful. And here's just some interior shots of a couple of the libraries. I'm not sure, I forgot which ones these are, but they did a pretty good job. Yeah, this is this is sort of like 50s Danish meets something or other. But hey,
that's Harahan.
that is Harahan. Okay, very cool. Very cool.
Because it's still there.
It is still there. You know what? If it works, right? Very good. But this has changed. Okay? That's our first demonstration library in Kenner. Yeah, on the Airline Highway. So, tad rustic, I'd have to say. But yeah, pretty amazing. I like the scraggly dog and the one on the left. It's kind of cool. But then they moved up to this, and so, and again, what's happening here though is that now some branches close and some locations change, whatever, but it doesn't fail. The reality of it is that the people really, the public really does appreciate what these libraries mean for their community, and they are readily supported. Just this one little blurb there in the middle, it talks about how in the course of 1 year, patronage attendance goes up 25%, from like 52 to 53. Patronage attendance went up by 25%, and it was already at 50,000. Let's put it that way. And it just, there was a lot of, I can't quite read it so well. But the reality was very, very well attended, and there's momentum here for something bigger and better. In this case, the Harahan City Hall hosted the Harahan branch of the library. And this one's really interesting because I was a much more innocent time. They tell you the name of the two kids and their home addresses. What could possibly go wrong? But, again, it was a far more innocent time. And then here's another one of the Metairie Road branch, which is really kind of cool. And then you have, here's the exterior. And I love it. It says, the caption is, although Jefferson units are not Gothic buildings, yeah, that's for true, they serve purpose well, and that is true also. So, the whole line is truth. And then here's the interior of the, that's a perfectly lovely and serviceable library. Absolutely. And then here we go. Let's go to the West Bank. This is Westwego. Yeah, and that's an interior shot of young people studying. And it turns out that the local garden club would bring them flowers, arrangements, and vases to perk up the place and everything, which I think is pretty cool. And here's Ridgedale on Transcontinental, 520 Transcontinental. So that must be down by the lake. Is that right?
No.
Oh, is that the other one? Okay, so that's why, okay, thank you. Before my time, and again, no sense of direction. I will probably get lost getting back to my office. And then some other, and again, you can see that these facilities, whether, despite being these demonstration libraries, there is a lot of energy and time and resources put into making these places succeed, making them a place that the public can use and that the public will appreciate. I wasn't sure about this picture because of the lighting and the setup. I'm not sure how old this, the one on the right that seemed to be a little old, but the picture on the left I wasn't quite sure exactly. We're going to put this chronologically, but again, it gives you a very good idea of
1955.
Oh, okay. And what library?
Marrero.
Oh, it is Marrero. Okay. And 55. Well, then I got it right. All right. Excellent stuff. And then the last of the demonstration libraries, and I have it here, was in 59 in Lafitte. Yeah. So that one there was some lag time there, but yeah, this was established in 1959 for Lafitte, Barataria, and so forth and so forth. And this is the first big phase of the library. For all intents and purposes, it's the 1950s, okay? The other big thing that happened in the 1950s happened right at the end, and this was in 1959, and this caused a lot of heartburn for the library system for a full generation. In 1959, it was determined that the library would be subordinated to the recreation department. And so we no longer had a dedicated administrative staff. We were now an adjunct to a larger department that had other concerns. And so there was quite a lot of back and forth about budgets and bailiwicks and boundaries and so forth and so forth. And in fact, when this first happened, I think it was a director, there was all this friction, and they finally fired her and changed the locks and stuff like that. She went down and fight and give her credit. But yes, so the other thing about this is, as we get in this phase and go into the 60s, one, the demonstration libraries are pretty much an unqualified success. And then on the other hand also now, it's the administrative bureaucratic side of the story has gotten just a tad murkier. As you go into the 60s, there's going to be this move of we proved ourselves, we need to kind of move up in the world, if you will. And two main items that's going to happen is, one, you're going to get a library headquarters here on Causeway. And so now, even though they're still part of the recreation department, they do actually at least have a dedicated building. And the other thing is they're also, we're going to start seeing now, is they're going to start putting monies towards actually building a building owned by the parish, run by the library system to house the library books and to address the public's needs. So this is the headquarters by which this will, and eventually they even developed a small library within the headquarters, which I thought was kind of interesting. And here's a picture of part of that, the headquarters of the nerve system for the library system. And so what you're going to see is in 1968, for example, is the Gretna Library, okay? And we'll have an actually building built and dedicated to this one goal, and it's not some storefront being rented out. And it's there for the public's use. Or Wagner, and right next door, all those glass windows is a fire station, which is so just even more growth and more improvements, and let's keep moving forward. Or Tarrytown dedication, October 9, 1974, and there it is, Tarrytown itself. How about that? And I love this one. This is a little later, but in color, and on the other side you see an earlier interior shot. So this is one of the big things that's happening here now, is that the demonstration library phase is behind, and now the library system is actually working to build its own buildings and then move them to that location and continue on from there. Of course, the other big change is that the library system is also going to desegregate. This is an opening from the Walkertown Library in Marrero in 1950. This is part of this was the dedication ceremony and sort of demonstrating, here's the patrons and this is their library. This is February of 1950, so again, this is for colors only. We have the race line of Jim Crow and the whole separate but equal interpretation of the law going on. And then you also have here, this is the Harlem Reading Room, which was over on that same area I showed you before, the 1300 block of Causeway on a place called Harlem Avenue. And this was actually opened in 1959, and the lady on the right there is Jacqueline Raphael, who was the first librarian for the reading room. But what's happening is the changes are, there's legal challenges coming for the Jim Crow setup. In 1954, we had the momentous Brown versus the Pekin Board of Education ruling, where the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that separate but equal was inherently unequal and you couldn't do it anymore. The problem was that one, the Supreme Court didn't lay out a specific timeline for when this desegregation should occur, and another problem was the Southern Democrats pledged themselves to what they referred to as massive resistance, and they were pretty much true to their word on that respect. The Harlem Reading Room is 5 years after the Brown versus the Pekin Board of Education ruling. But what will eventually happen is that members of the black community will start challenging this Jim Crow setup, especially in the aftermath of the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This lady here, her name is Lena Verne Dandridge, Houston, that's her married name, but Lena Verne Dandridge, her father was a very prominent clergyman in the community down here, and he led a lot of the legal challenges to segregation. In this case, this talks about desegregating the public schools in Jefferson Parish, but also at the same time, simultaneously, there was also what they called the read-ins. And what was happening was black people were going into the whites-only libraries to sit down and read books. They couldn't check them out because the library cards were based on race. So if you could be a black person and you hold a library card, you could not check out a library book from a white library. So, but they would go and sit down and start reading, and then they would get themselves arrested for disturbing the peace and so forth and so forth. This is 64, 65, and eventually went through to a Supreme Court decision called Brown versus Louisiana in 1966. And in that case, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that indeed this peaceful protest of a read-in was legal. It was guaranteed by the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment, and there was nothing you could do about it. And what this meant was that at this point in time, Jefferson Parish is really on the glide path towards desegregation. And as far as the library system was concerned, by 1969, the library set aside for blacks only was they were discontinued. The staff and the stacks were moved to other libraries, and the locations were shut down. And so that takes Jefferson Parish Library System into the 70s. They are now integrated, and they now have a vision for what's to come. And the idea is that we want to have a fairly modern library system in our own buildings, owned and operated by the parish. Preferably by a library administration, but that'll take a few years. 1983, the library system had a program for what can we do for the future called Crossroads to the Future, and it was just sort of like and it was a fairly thoughtful, intelligent plan that they followed for the first round of new buildings and expansions and modernizations. We'll also see in 1985 the creation of the Friends of the Jefferson Parish Library System. And just I just found out that in their book sale in April, they raised almost $60,000. So, kudos to the Friends, absolutely. And the big breakthrough really is going to come in 1994 when it's finally understood after 35 years that, 41, wait, 45 years? 45 years, that, no, sorry, that's not 35 years, that Jefferson Parish should have its own library administration. And so Jefferson Parish Library System gets its own administration and is taken out from under the wing of the Recreation Department. And so you see all sorts of, things like, these great new libraries and these great new buildings with all sorts of, amenities and improvements. And as they come along, and we know how quickly technology overtakes the last technology and how things speed up. So here's our Belterre, beautiful library, our Live Oak. How about that? What a gorgeous building. West Bank Regional, if you hire the architect who built the Maginot Line, you're going to get that, it'll resist German invasion, I guess. Unless you bring a lot of greenery, then it's not so bad. But it is kind of an imposing structure. And then one of the last ones down the line was in 1995, Lakeshore, which looks like a really depressing Lutheran church. And to all my Lutheran audience members, I apologize. But unfortunately, this library took severe damage from Hurricane Katrina. I lived in Lakeview, so I did too. And so what they're going to do is they're going to rebuild Lakeshore and turn it into what I personally think is the prettiest library in the system. That's just me. I'm also kind of biased because this is where I trained, and they're lovely people. They're lovely people, and right now, and they're very patient with me. But it's just. I mean, look at that. That is, you cannot take away from the aesthetics there. That's pretty amazing. So I'm biased, and it's also very pretty. But there's also like, hey, how about River Ridge? I mean, this isn't some, little cheesy storefront in a strip mall on Airline Highway. This is a real library building filled full of, look at this. Look at all these amenities. Look at this layout. How nice, huh? The only problem about River Ridge is it's infested with giant fungus. They've been known to carry away small children, so you're assistants, if you will. In 1997, East Bank Regional, 100,000 square feet of book space, 50,000 feet of administrative space. Pretty remarkable, and you know, a great locale to say the least. And of course, the gem of the East Bank Regional is, it's special collections. So, and the gem of the gem of special collections is, there she is, it's Quinn Kelly. So, and she is just an absolute crackerjack genealogist. So if you want to do genealogy, you come and see her. Do not ask me. I can show you how to turn on the computer, and that's about it. But she really knows her stuff. So, good going, Gwen. And then for the future, we've got Avondale, which is going to be opening up early next year. And if it doesn't work out, we can rent it out to Whataburger. So, there's that. And then of course, we also, this is a big hooky, the makerspace. Look at, this is coming here. And there's lots and lots of buzz about all this. And, I think this is opening up. Is it opening next year? 2025? All right, let's hear it for makerspace. So that's going to be pretty cool too. And then, and since I got to give the lecture, I get to talk about my pet project, bring back the coffee shop. So I miss it so much. All right, so, but however it may be. But that is that. And I just wanted to say before I wrap up here, I just wanted to say that first of all, I had this much to contribute, and the vast majority I was able to contribute was because everybody shared so graciously with me in this project. But I just want to acknowledge Nicholas Kaluta, who was the chairman for this committee to make this stuff happen. And we got Megan Krozak and Gwen Kelly in terms of research assistants, layout, Al Hebner and Jessica Gradoff, design, our own Tatiana Aubert, and then special research acknowledgements, Kathleen Gontar, and in memoriam, and please forgive me here, Mario Di Petrantonio. I'm not Italian. All right, but the most important of all is I want to recognize Dina Benigni. No, but it's just like, she handed me like 40 pages of single-space typewritten notes. And I was able to take all that and do this. Plus, everybody, so many people, honest to goodness, I had 500, 600, 700 photographs to work with too and everything. No, everybody was, and Nicholas was incredibly patient because I couldn't make any of the meetings. So, I made one. But the reality of it is that this is a really remarkable library network here, and it just seems to be getting better and moving in the right directions at a really good clip. And so, and it's really a great place to work. I'll tell you that too. So, however it may be, and so by saying that, I get to keep my job. All right, so there we have it. Now, if you have any questions, I really recommend you ask Dina. She's the one who can really take care of those for you. But I guess that's really about it. I thank you all for being here. Very grateful.
Thank you, Cyril, so much. If you are interested in seeing those photos,